get to our panel right now. Joining us is Lynn Sweet. She is Washington, D.C. bureau chief for the Chicago Sun-Times. From Toronto, Haroon Siddiqui is editorial page editor emeritus for the Toronto Star. From London, Alexander Nekrassov is a former advisor to the Russian government. And from Atlanta, Bryan Crabtree is a conservative radio host. Thanks to all of you for joining us. Lynn, let me start with you in the studio. More dissension in the White House. President Trump openly criticizing his Attorney General, Jeff Sessions. He says Sessions is weak, has not acted to stop these leaks coming out of the intelligence services. Let's take a listen to what Trump had to say.
I want the Attorney General to be much tougher on the leaks from intelligence agencies, which are leaking like rarely have they ever leaked before at a very important level. These are intelligence agencies. We cannot have that happen.
So the president and his attorney general, clearly a fallout here. What is going to be the consequences of this?
Well, the consequences, you used the right word in the beginning of the segment. It's turmoil. It's distraction from President Trump's agenda. It is making a very nervous White House because other staffers are targeted, because this is not only criticism of the Attorney General, but this is happening at the same time that there's a shakeup in the communications team and a change there, departure of Press Secretary Sean Spicer. So if you look at the whole context of it, President Trump is willing to undermine his own appointee really because of this Russia probe, because he cannot abide by these special prosecutor and 4 congressional committees pursuing the Russia investigation, especially with his son and son-in-law dragged into it.
What do you make of the speculation that's going around that he's actually setting up Jeff Sessions to be fired?
He doesn't have to set him up. He's the president. That's why what is remarkable today, part of the question, I was at the White House in the Rose Garden when this happened, the reporter just asked Trump, why are you letting Jeff Sessions twist in the wind? You could just fire him. So somehow our American president feels it's appropriate or wants or needs to have somebody who he is openly critical of, who he hired and he could fire. That's the famous line that so many people around the world know him for his TV show Apprentice, you're fired. And he's not firing someone he doesn't like. So one analysis, why is he letting him twist in the wind? It's because somehow it serves the president's purpose.
Okay, let's bring in Haroon Siddiqui from Toronto. Haroon, what's the view from Toronto? I mean, you look at this president and the White House putting out fires every day, defending themselves against these allegations about Russia. Can a White House like this really function with all this happening around them?
No, as we view it from here, it's like an ongoing soap opera. It's like a television reality show. Unfortunately, it is happening in the greatest power in the world. It's happening at the White House, at the center of it. He is a demagogue. He's a populist. He's a billionaire who wants his wishes carried out. That we understand. What we don't understand is if, in fact, he has nothing to hide about the Russian investigation, why is he so worried? Why is he so nervous? Why is the need to fire people? Why is this need to hide things, seemingly? If he has nothing to hide, he simply say, go ahead, there are 4 congressional committees probing it, go right ahead, you're doing your job. Mr. Sessions has recused himself, fine, you know, I mean, why this nervousness? Why this need to leave his own Attorney General twisting in the wind and insulting him constantly? There is something deeply psychologically disturbing about this man as to why he's doing it, you know. Either he has nothing to hide, or he has much to hide, or he has nothing to hide, but psychologically he's incapable of letting it go. Or he wants him to, you know, it's like a mafia tactics. I named you Attorney General, your job is to protect me, and, you know, you're not doing your protection racket properly. That's what it seems to us from Canada.
Okay, let's go to Bryan Crabtree in Atlanta. Bryan, welcome to the show. Haroon Siddiqui poses a valid question there. Why is the president nervous if he's got nothing to fear, if there's nothing in these Russian allegations?
Well, over 90% of the FBI agents that donated politically in 2016 donated to the Clinton campaign. You have a sea of Obama loyalists. You have nearly 130 leaks in as many days since Trump took office from the FBI. We clearly have a very damaged FBI and Justice Department. Then you look at Jeff Sessions. He's going after Jeff Sessions. Trump is actually trying to do what he told his constituents he would do. He would prosecute Hillary Clinton for her crimes if they discover evidence. It doesn't seem that Jeff Sessions is doing anything on that. Only one leaker has been caught, but not within the Justice Department, a government contractor. I mean, you look at all of these things, the American people are looking at Trump and this administration, especially Trump supporters like me, saying, wait a minute, it seems like more of the same after these appointees like Sessions went into the AG's office.
Right.
To me, it just seems that this is a situation where people are missing the fact that Trump was sent by the American people to make changes in Washington, not to go with business as usual, which is what's being described here.
Right. Point is, Bryan, that this is a big distraction. I mean, the president and his team, which includes family members, can't seem to shake these allegations. This is Jared Kushner, who testified before the U.S. Congress, speaking here. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
I did not collude with Russia, nor do I know of anyone else in the campaign who did so. I had no improper contacts. I have not relied on Russian funds for my businesses. And I have been fully transparent in providing all requested information. Donald Trump had a better message and ran a smarter campaign, and that is why he won. Suggesting otherwise ridicules those who voted for him.
So, Bryan, the question is this hurting the president? Is it preventing him from doing his job?
Well, I think it's preventing him from doing what the Washington media bubble and the D.C. establishment think the job of the president is. But you have to remember, what is the job of this president? This president was sent to Washington to disrupt the order of Washington, to return the government back to the American people. There's a deep state, there's a bureaucratic state up there, and this is going to be really messy for some time to come as he dismantles that. So I'm not sure that this is a disruption from the disruption he was sent to Washington to create. Now, if you're talking about policy and health care, yes, it's disrupting to some extent from that, but I think the American people are interested in seeing big changes in Washington. And for those that are really paying attention, they see this as part of the pain to the journey for pleasure in the future.
Alexander in London. Alexander, you know, central to all this discord, all this turmoil that we're hearing about here in Washington is Russia. Russia's been accused over and over again of meddling in the U.S. elections, of colluding with the Trump campaign. How is Russia responding to this? How does Russia see it?
Well, first of all, in Russia, everyone is surprised that although everybody is investigating Trump from all sides, the media as well, not a single shred of evidence has been produced. Now, this is starting to look bizarre, because if there is such an investigation going on, and Congress and the intelligence community and the media and everybody is looking for something that would compromise Trump, and finding nothing, that gives the Russians an idea that this is a setup, that this is a game, a farce, that the pressure on the president is just kept up for some inner political domestic reasons, that they want to keep this pressure from to distract him from probably looking for people who are really guilty of certain things. And I'd like to ask all the members of the panel one question, because I've just heard people saying, how can it be that the president behaves like that and so on. Do you actually recall any American president being under such an attack from day one? I don't recall that. I don't remember any world political leader being under such pressure. So for us and for observers to say, well, we don't understand what Trump is doing, this is so remarkable.
Okay.
This is so unlike other presidents. Well, let me tell you something. If Obama was under such pressure, he would have broken down and probably left already, after 6 months. So let's just be calm and understand this is a unique situation which is developed under after a unique election.
Okay.
And that is why we're seeing all these strange things happening.
Okay, Brian, you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to add to that. I mean, this president walked into the White House after Inauguration Day with these allegations. They've not let up since. The fake news media in our country, especially some of the networks on cable that are in the domestic end, they've not stopped on this. And the American people, there's a survey I saw that said 9% of the American people care about it. I'm not even convinced Russia hacked the election by the direction of the Kremlin. I know that the CIA and the NSA didn't even trust this data when it came out about last August. The CIA convinced the NSA and the FBI to believe that Russia did it, and then they said 17 agencies confirmed it. No, 3 agencies confirmed it, and it was based upon weak data from a country we don't trust from an intelligence purview.
Okay.
This seems like the deep state, as I call it, and others call it, really getting involved to become a political weapon to stop the Trump changes being ordered by the American people in Washington.
Okay.
Okay, so I just hope that the viewers...
One moment, I'll get you in a moment.
I hope that the viewers around the world can maybe just give me a minute here. These investigations are in progress right now. So in all respect to my co-panelists, without having judgment of what will happen, the principals are just starting to come up and give their stories, give their documents. So these are congressional committees who are trying just to find out the story of what happened. Plus, there is a criminal probe, which is this independent prosecutor who hasn't even interviewed a lot of the people. And let's just say that in other investigative agencies have concluded that there is some Russian intrusion. You can't come to a conclusion now because these investigations are far from being done. And just, again, so our viewers around the world know, presidents have been investigated before. We don't have time and all the research to do comparison. But Bill Clinton was under a shadow almost from the time he started for something called his Whitewater real estate investment. So people go Google it. And that led to, he had investigations constantly from a variety of sources. And remember, he ended up being impeached. So he brought on some of his woes with his affair. President Trump has brought this on because he controls the White House, and Republicans control the House and Senate. They could pass the agenda that the president was elected to come here for, but so much of what we're talking about, I just hope our worldwide viewers know, is about stuff that's personal to President Trump, not about the people who elected him to come to Washington.